Welcome back to Ardem Dev Diary. It's been a while since last one of these, but we're really excited to finally bring this format back and share with you what we've been working on. Over the past few weeks, the team has been super busy working on a ton of new features for Ardem, from world design and AI improvements all the way to big technical updates behind the scenes. In this episode, we'll take a look at some of the most exciting things we've been working on recently. Let's start with something pretty big, our new electricity grid system. In the past, whenever you found a house in the world, and maybe there was a small shed or a garage door or even a little barn next to it, you had to connect separate generators to each of those individual structures if you wanted to have power inside of it. That was kind of a tedious process, and it didn't really make sense in terms of realism either. So we built a new system that lets us define power networks directly in the editor. What does that mean? That means we can decide which buildings are connected and share the same electricity grid. In practice, that means if you hook up a generator to the main house, all the connected sheds, barns, and garages will automatically get power too. Lights will turn on, outlets will work, and the whole area just feels much more alive. It's a small change on paper, but it makes a huge difference when you explore or start setting up your base in the world. Speaking of electricity, we've also spent quite a bit of time setting it up all across new structures in the game. The system itself has been a part of Ardem for a while, but with all the new houses and smaller buildings we've added it to the game at this point, we had to rebuild and reconnect everything from scratch. Over the last weeks, we've been going through every single structure, placing outlet points, lamp attachments, and just simply making sure that the entire electricity setup is consistent everywhere. Now, even small sheds, garages, and garden huts have working lamps and outlets inside of them, so you can technically power whatever you want and make proper use of those spaces. Basically, every building across the world is now equipped with lighting, ready to be powered up and used however you like. A perfect example of that system in action is our brand new lighthouse area. The location comes with a small keeper's house right next to it. It has a nice terrain and sits beautifully against the side of a rocky hill. The lighthouse and the keeper's house share the same power network, so if players manage to restore electricity to the house, the lighthouse will come back to life as well. Once powered, you can turn the rotational light and see it sweeping across the coastline and see surrounding landscapes, especially at night. But then of course, that light can be both blessing and a curse. It might help guide other survivors, but it also means everyone across the map can spot you instantly. The area itself is basically done. We're just adding a few finishing touches to it, making sure Keeper's house look more weathered down and abandoned to really sell that atmosphere. Next up, let's talk about the Fort Simon, our military camp. Inside the camp walls, the entire layout is now pretty much done. We've finished the last polishing poses, added small environmental details, and refined the overall look and feel for the interior space. Right now we're focusing on the area outside of the camp. That includes defensive outposts and a new bunker entrance that we're actually extremely excited to show you soon. The surroundings of Fort Simon were heavily cleared by the military, so the landscape feels exposed. There's very little natural cover, lots of dead trees, and pretty eerie atmosphere to say the very least. Once the outer area is complete and the path leading back to the main road is set up, we'll start working on the interior of the bunker itself. There are some really cool things to discover down there, and we can't wait to share more details about it in one of the next Dev Diaries. We've also been working on two systems that players won't directly interact with, but that helps us a lot during development, especially when it comes to tuning how infected spawn across the world. We've built a new heat map based on the spawning system. The entire map is divided into a grid of small tiles, and we created an external tool that lets us paint those tiles with different spawn weights. There are 7 different intensity levels, and just with a few clicks, we can define areas where infected spawn frequently and other areas where they barely appear at all. This gives us a very fine control over pacing the atmosphere, like making dense urban areas feel dangerous and wild, while remote and hidden zones might be quieter and more unpredictable. We also implemented a way to visualize these spawns directly inside the editor. With one click, we can see exactly where infected would appear if the game was running. Red squares pop up all over the map, showing potential spawn positions based on the current heat map settings. It's not just faster, it's also much more visible and easier to debug. Instead of guessing where things might go wrong in the game, we can literally see it happen right in front of us, and we can adjust it right there on the spot. That makes the whole system far more transparent and precise to work work with. And here's the cool part. Once Ardem releases, we're planning to share this with server owners as well, specifically the heap tool itself. So if you're running your own server, you'll be able to create your own heap maps, customize spawn zones, and decide exactly how dangerous the world should feel. So yes, your zombie apocalypse, your rules. We've also made a lot of progress to AI lately, specifically when it comes to infected behavior. After getting the base systems up and running, we started defining different types of infected, each with their own movement and aggression patterns. Some of them are slower than others, and they're mostly dangerous in larger groups or when you get cornered. But then there are the ones that enter what we call a hyper chase mode. Those are much faster and more aggressive, and they can really put you in those tense situations. None of them are faster than your full sprint, so technically you can always outrun them, but your stamina isn't unlimited. So if you've been running for a while, carrying heavy gear or doing other actions that drain your endurance, you might not be able to keep up with the pace for very long, and that's when things can get very dangerous. Luckily, these hyper chase infected are much rarer than the slow ones, so you won't have to encounter them everywhere, but when you do, you'll definitely feel the difference. We've also been working on performance and graphical improvements, just simply making sure that Ardem looks great on as many systems as possible. One of the big steps forward is the implementation of DLSS and frame generation. We've already tested both, and of course for those of you with NVIDIA 40 and 50 series, you'll be able to take advantage of frame generation to multiply your frame rate and just get much smoother experience overall. The next step for us would be adding FSR support, so players with AMD cards can benefit from similar upscaling and performance boosts as well. In general, we're still putting a lot of effort into optimization ever since we switched to the new graphical setup. There are still a few performance challenges we're tackling as we speak, but we are certainly making steady progress and already seeing improvements. One of the main focuses of our upcoming closed alpha tests will actually be performance testing, making sure that as many players as possible can run the game smoothly, and of course, first and foremost, making sure everyone enjoys the gameplay as well. We've also started working on the complete UI and UX overhaul. That means everything related to the user interface and overall experience that existed in the previous version of Ardem, the one that some of our early testers have already played, is being completely replaced and redesigned. The goal here is to bring everything up to the new visual standard of the game. So just making sure that the interface itself matches the updated graphics style and overall presentation of the game. Right now we're still in the mock-up phase, if you want to call it that, focusing mainly on the main menu and the sub-menus. We're experimenting with layouts, readability, and the overall flow to make sure it feels clean and modern before moving deeper into the in-game UI elements. And once that's solid, we'll start working on in-game interfaces as well as bringing the entire experience in line with the new visual direction. And of course, what you've seen today is just a small part of what we've been working on over the past weeks. There's a lot more happening behind the scenes, from bug fixes and technical improvements to tons of smaller details that keep the world of Ardem evolving. In these dev diaries, we're focusing on the highlights and the things that are most exciting or visible to you as a player, but rest assured, there's a lot more going on than what can fit in a single video. I will see you all in Ardem. It has been a while since the last time we made one of these episodes, but we are so happy to bring this format back. A lot has happened behind the closed doors, and today we want to walk you through some of the biggest changes and updates, along with some incredible improvements that we have made to the game, let alone just showcase what we have been working on for the last 4 or 5 weeks. But just a reminder, if you want to furthermore support this project, maybe get some content behind the scenes, make sure you join our Discord. We post work in progress, screenshots, early concepts, and little looks into development of Ardem that never make it into these major videos on YouTube or TikTok. So if you want the full Ardem experience, that is the place to be. So let's begin. Something many of you have already seen a tiny glimpse of, our very first location based on a major resource, Brookstone Clay Pit. The Clay Pit is an industrial area that used to operate right up until the outbreak of the virus. Now, unfortunately it stands empty and partially reclaimed by the nature itself. But for the players, it is a very important location because this is the first place in Ardem where you can actually collect clay, which is a brand new resource in the game, required for the entire pottery crafting path, and now can only be found in the very specific spots across the world. That means if you need clay, you have to travel to one of these resource zones, and depending on where your base is located, that could mean one out of two things. It could be a very short trip, or it could be a very long trip, and potentially a very dangerous one as well. We also implemented the full digging mechanic for this area. If you have a shovel, you can walk up to the clay mounds, dig them out, and gather rock clay directly from the ground itself. Be mindful, clay is very heavy and you can collect a lot of it, so bringing a vehicle is definitely recommended here. This system is only the beginning. We plan on adding more locations where you can find very specific resources, especially down in the future, each with their own gameplay and world building purpose. But we will talk about those more in the upcoming Dev Diaries as days go by. Next, let's talk about something that needed quite a bit of work after our visual overhaul, let's be honest, the object placement system. When we changed the whole entire graphical setup of Ardem, some of the previous systems broke or needed some serious attention, and object placement unfortunately was one of them. This system is now completely rebuilt, and I'm happy to say that it is fully functional once again. Players can again pick up almost any object they can find in the game and place it anywhere they would like, either boxed up version of it as a cardboard or as the assembled item itself. This is especially useful for decorating bases, organizing storage areas, or just making your safe house feel more personal, if you will. Everything now snaps and aligns properly, and the system feels much smoother and more reliable than ever. Speaking of new things, we also have expanded our vehicle lineup. Along the side of the camper van and the muscle car, we now have a new vehicle, which is a box truck, or if you live in the States, it's basically a U-Haul. The box truck is large, slow, and very noticeable, but on the brighter side, it has an enormous amount of storage in the back. It is absolutely the perfect vehicle for players who want to move furniture, crates, or heavy objects, especially in bulk. It does come with a sliding side door and the rear door that you can manually open and close, and we plan on adding locking features later so that way players can secure their loot inside. It is a fun and very practical vehicle, and we cannot wait to see how many players use it once it is in your hands. And since we are already talking about carrying things around, let's get to one of the most community requested features. For the longest time, players were asking whether or not Ardem would include trailers. And now, sometime later, we are so happy to announce that the production of them has begun. In total, we are working on 10 different trailers, and the first two are now complete. These are the Holemaster 200S, which stands for small, and the Holemaster 260L, which stands for large. Two storage trailers designed to let you stack crates or other objects on top of them. In the future, once our vehicle upgrade system is implemented, you will be able to attach a cage on top to upgrade those trailers, allowing you to stack cargo even higher without losing anything on the road. Both Holmasters are fully implemented to the game. They can be attached to your vehicle, driven around, and loaded with whatever you want. We will go deeper into the trailer system in the next Dev Diary, so definitely expect more details come very soon. Another new addition would be the garage doors. Garages are now interactive structures that players can open once electricity is restored. When a house has power, you can press the button inside and the garage door will slowly raise. It is a small detail, but it makes exploring houses and preparing your bases much more satisfying. Later on, we will allow our players to pry garage doors open with a crowbar. I'm happy to announce myself that we are already working on those features and to make sure that we have it for you guys to experience. Now, things are getting a bit more spicy at this point. Let's talk about the biggest quality of life improvement, the brand new interaction system. The old system required players to aim perfectly at small hotspots to highlight objects and interact with them. That often felt very tedious, especially there was a noticeable problem when players had to interact with smaller objects, or objects with more components to them. On top of that, larger objects also glowed entirely when highlighted, which looked very odd and honestly confusing. The new system is a complete rework. Interaction prompts now appear directly on the object itself and clearly shows you what the player can do. If an action bar requires a tool you do not have, the UI would tell you exactly what tool you're missing. You no longer have to have pixel perfect aiming either. Looking in the correct direction is enough for interaction, which makes the system far more forgiving and intuitive. More advanced players can simply disable these prompts entirely for a cleaner UI. Overall, the system feels modern, responsive, and much more enjoyable to use. Let's move on one last time to the camper van, which is now fully polished. Inside the van, you will find 16 individual cabinets, each with its own inventory. This allows players to sort their items however they like, medical supplies in one of the storage areas, food in another, and so on. The hitch ball attachment also works now. Once players find a hitch ball in the world, they can attach it to the van and tow trailers behind it. And finally, let's talk about the weapons. We have implemented the new final version of our assault rifle, and this update along brings more variations and customizations than ever before. There are now 2 versions of the rifle, a military variant and a civilian. The main difference is the gas block. The military version includes a built-in front sight, which restricts certain attachments. For example, the extremely long rail handguard fits only on the civilian version. This gives us more control over the loot distribution and gives players a reason to explore different parts of the map. And of course depends on which variant they would prefer. We also added the ability to swap pistol grips, giving players even more customization options. Weapon personalization is a big part of Ardem, and we want players to really feel like every weapon they carry is uniquely designed for them specifically. And this will wrap up for this dev diary. As always, this is only a small selection of the things we have been working on. There's absolutely far more features that are currently being developed and talked about internally. And of course, on top of that, we also want to make sure that Ardem to this day stays optimized. We also fix bugs as they come up, because it is only natural to have those things come up to you and try to bite you. Then we also focus on the world building, and we are very excited to share more of them with you as days go by. And if this is your first time seeing Ardem and you truly want to support this project, the best thing you can do right now is just wishlist the game on Steam and request to join the playtest. If you request to join the playtest, make sure you click the follow button, because that's how you're going to be notified. Thank you again for just keep showing up and showing your support and love for our project. It truly means the world to us, and it just makes us work even that much harder. So thank you again, happy holidays, and I will see you guys in Ardem.